It is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. And of course, there's all kinds of things going on in the world and in the news. And we'll be talking about that here and all along those lines. So we'll see what folks have to say about a number of these news stories. In a rare criticism of Putin, Trump urges the Russian leader to stop after a deadly attack on Kyiv. So Trump administration is definitely calling on Putin to stop those Russian strikes on Ukraine, and Russia hit Kyiv with the deadliest attack since 2024, according to what Ukrainian officials are reporting. So that's something going on as well. And the tourist massacre in Kashmir is escalating tensions between India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan cancel visas for each other's nationals as tensions rise after the Kashmir attack. And India may announce a ceasefire cessation after the Pahalgam terror attack, according to some government sources from that part of the world. So definitely a lot's going on there as well. And mourners pay respect to Pope Francis as cardinals fine-tune funeral plans. So there's even some folks that are saying he brought so many to the faith, and that was even what a family was saying as they paid respect to the Pope, according to a report from the BBC. And Pope Francis's doctor said he died without suffering at home. And it looks like the Cardinals are preparing to battle over the future direction of the Catholic Church. And Trump changed his tone over tariffs on China, and a new executive action targets education. I think that has to do with the student loans and all along those lines. And South Korea's former president Moon indicted for alleged bribery. So South Korea's ex-president Moon Jae-in indicted for bribery. So definitely that is something going on where a former leader has been indicted, and we'll see where this charge goes. And U.S. names Michael Anton to lead technical talk with Iran. So some people are asking, including those at The Economist, is Donald Trump about to bomb Iran or rebuild it? So Trump's endgame on Iran, a mystery as clocks ticks on nuclear talks. So we'll see what that's going to bring us as well. And India has limited options to retaliate against the terror attack. That's what Lieutenant General Hootie said. And Mukesh Ambien offers free treatment to those injured on the Pahalgam terror attack. So it looks like there's still a lot going on in that part of the world as well. And Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky meets South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa to counter some of the things that are going on in terms of Russian influence. So it looks like Ukraine's Zelensky has landed in South Africa for talks on ties and peace efforts. So it looks like some people are even asking why Ukraine is losing the war for African opinion. So definitely they're trying to get some support even from some of the African nations as well. And an Israel strike in Gaza kills 23 as Arab mediators seek a long-term truce. So Israeli strike kills 10 at Gaza shelter. Israel says that it was targeting militants. So that's something that folks are talking about in terms of the Middle East. And a powerful earthquake shakes Istanbul. Dozens were hurt. They were jumping from buildings. President Erdogan urges unity and action following that Istanbul earthquake. And apparently it was a magnitude 6.2 quake that struck the Marmara Fault at the site of the largest historical earthquakes near Istanbul. So definitely that's something going on. As a matter of fact, one person in one of the social media posts was saying that they grabbed their cat and ran as Istanbul panicked as earthquakes hit. And Jordan shuts down a local branch of the Muslim Brotherhood after arrest in that area. So Jordan has banned the Muslim Brotherhood after arrest over attack plot. So that's something else that we're going to be hearing about as well. And a convicted cardinal wants to take part in the conclave to select the Pope Francis successor. So he demands to be part of the conclave to choose the new pope, setting up a Vatican standoff. So definitely we'll find out who these cardinals are that will be selecting the new pope and whether this particular gentleman will get to be one of those that gets to do that honor. And Benin admits that 54 soldiers killed in border attack by Janem. So 54 soldiers were killed in a suspected jihadist attack in Benin. And that's definitely something going on as well. So we've got a lot going on in the sense of what's happening in the Middle East and around the Middle East as well. So definitely we'll be talking about these stories and a number of others also. So like I said, a lot's going on in the world. And of course, we're always glad to keep you informed about what's happening. Let's see what's happening in the U.S. And I'll see what Nick's got on his mind, and if anybody else is joining us as well. So definitely looks like red line on Crimea isn't just Zelensky's, it's Ukraine's, and Russia and Ukraine trade blame over faltering peace moves. So Trump slams Zelensky for rejecting the Ukraine-Russia negotiations, saying a deal was very close. So definitely something that we're hearing about as well. So he was saying that a deal was very close, but it did not get a chance to happen whatsoever, and all in that way. So we'll see what goes on there. And Trump signs an executive action on education, including efforts to rein in DEI. So Trump signs an executive order targeting university accreditors, and he says, I guess, that he's reinstating common sense school discipline policies as well. So definitely that's something going on in the U.S. And China tells U.S. to cancel all unilateral tariffs if it wants talks. So stocks waver as China calls reports of U.S. tariff talks as baseless. Trump keeps claiming he's working on a deal with China, and Beijing says that it is all in his mind. So China says there are no negotiations with the U.S. over tariffs. And the gunman in the 2022 mass shooting at suburban Chicago July 4th parade will be dealing with sentencing. So that's funny. The Highland Park Parade shooter's sentencing enters day 2 with more victim impact statements. So we'll see what goes on in that case and what sentencing he gets. And it looks like there's a Trump administration task force that is targeting Harvard. So Harvard Medical School was already in the red. Then came Trump. So we'll see what goes on that. And Harvard's president says the school will not compromise on its rights with the Trump administration. And smoke from New Jersey wildfire is blanketing New York City. So teen has been charged with starting a massive wildfire in Ocean County, New Jersey. And New York City was hit with an air quality alert over the smoke from the New Jersey wildfire. So definitely something going on here as well. And Hedges set up Signal on a computer in his Pentagon office. He's defending his Signal leak, and others lost clearances for similar lapses. But former Pentagon official on Hedges turmoil, it looks like they actually broke the law. That's what some folks are saying in that sense. So we'll see if there's any repercussions. And a judge orders the return of the second migrant deported to El Salvador. So the federal judge temporarily halted orders for details on any effort to return Abrigo Garcia to the U.S., but the Maryland judge orders the return of the Venezuelan asylum seeker deported to El Salvador. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. And Trump has been granted leeway in case of mistakenly deported man. And Trump crashes the home stretch of Canada's election. So Trump's been having some impact on both the Canadian election and the Australian election. But Trump says 25% tariff on cars made in Canada could go up. So he reinserts himself into Canadian politics, saying as a state, it works great. So Trump says Canada would cease to exist if it weren't for the U.S. days before their pivotal election. And college newspapers are grappling with requests to delete old articles as students and alumni fear deportation. So student journalists are wrestling with the idea of censoring their own works and everything like that. So a lot's going on in the sense of censorship and some of the other Trump activities. And Democratic groups planned a $12 million investment in rural areas with an eye toward 2028. And 12 states have sued Trump over his tariffs. So New York leads the 12 states suing to block Trump's tariffs. And Senator Dick Durbin, the number 2 Senate Democrat, is to retire after 44 years in Congress. And Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton is the first to run for Dick Durbin's Senate seat. So definitely we'll see how that goes as well. So lots going on there. And autistic people and experts are voicing alarm at RFK's terrible approach to that particular condition. So NIH autism study will pull from private medical records, and some folks are wondering what's going on in the sense of RFK's views on autism and all along those lines. Well, I've got Nick Palveda with me. I've also got Sasha Starr. And like I said, we're hearing about these negotiations going on that I guess are not going on now and everything. But Sasha, what's your take once again on Zelensky and his going into Africa to recruit some more support, and just how he's going about taking on this war? Because I understand Kyiv, where we know we have a reporter at, was hit with another massive attack.
Yes, that's true. And what I seen just a few minutes ago is that Trump says, it's enough, Vladimir.
Right.
Please stop it. Really? The Trump's best friend, Vladimir, is doing the terrorist attacks almost daily on Ukrainian cities, killing children and innocent people. And that's what Trump's best friend that he's trying to do business with. He's trying to make some money on the blood of Ukrainians. That's what Trump is all about. And I'm wondering how American people who elected him, okay, I understand his election was all about getting out of Democrats, including Biden and Harris and all those wonderful people. I understand that. That's okay. But did Trump get in his election campaign anything that he's going to side with Putin against Ukraine? No. About the tariffs that derailing now U.S. Way of life and just the giant stores, Walmart, Target, um, the others met with Trump and make a statement. I think it was yesterday that we will have empty shelves in our stores. Stop it right now. So this was not in his election campaign. So he was lying through his teeth of almost everything what he was saying in his election campaign. He's going much beyond what he was promising in his election campaign. American people, it's a payday, babies. You wanted Trump, you got Trump. It's a payback day now.
Yeah, what's your take on that, Nick? So you hear Sasha saying that he's payback time, and by the way, apparently he's trying to influence both the Canadian and the Australian elections, but I don't think he's seen favorably in either one of those two countries and everything. But
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's two very interesting cases that we're following on Lawyers Den. One is this one, Voss versus Trump. And you probably see it. It's been floating around the internet. Tens of thousands of people watched it already. But it deals with a very interesting issue. We picked it up several weeks ago, and the lead counsel for Voss was actually on the Lawyers Den. But here's the issue. Whether or not constitutionally Trump can impose tariffs the way he's doing it. It is really the purview of these people, Congress, to create tariffs. I mean, it's almost like in the Constitution. But I thought Peter Bennett did a good job defending the administration, and I thought the other gentleman did a good job, Jeff, on representing Voss's position on this. Now, since we had aired that, 12 states have joined in on the lawsuit. So we have 12 states plus this one, which is in the Court of International Trade. And we believe they're all going to be consolidated at the Court of International Trade. And we're going to be following that because if the Supreme Court says, oh, you don't have the right to do the tariffs the way you're doing it. In other words, you can't just jump up and say, I'm going to have this tariff, that tariff. Congress, that's a legislative position. That's not an executive position. That we're going to see a major shift in power back to Congress. Okay, another case we're following is this one, No versus Abrego Garcia. Now, here's the interesting thing about this case. If you follow Facebook, everybody's slamming Abrego Garcia like he's guilty. You know, in other words, oh, you did this, you did that. Wait, it shows how ignorant the American public is on basic constitutional law. Remember, this person's a U.S. citizen. All U.S. citizens have a right to counsel. That's in the Sixth Amendment. And to my knowledge, he never had an attorney appointed to him. Then we have another one. You have notice and opportunity to be heard. You have the right to make your statements in front of an impartial judge. That never took place. And then we have another problem with it. The other problem is he lacked due process. Due process is the process of doing what I described. Instead, what happened was the administration says, you're guilty now if you go to El Salvador. Okay, I hate to tell all the conservatives and all the people listening, that is not the American system. I don't care what you think he's been convicted of. I don't care if you think he's an M13 member or not. I don't care what your thoughts are. Everybody in the United States who's a citizen, for sure, has a right to a trial, and they have a due process right, a notice and opportunity to be heard right, and a right to counsel. That is in your Constitution. I recommend that they go back and take Con Law 101 before they all declare this person guilty, because he's not. So now, if Jacoby's just joined us, he thinks I'm probably now a flaming liberal, because Abrego Garcia needs to be returned to the United States, and he is not guilty of bloody anything. Remember, everybody is presumed innocent until they're proven guilty, and he has never been proven guilty on anything. These are what they call allegations by the administration. Now, what can the Supreme Court do? Very little. What the trial court can do? They can start sanctioning everybody who's involved. In other words, sanctioning and even having arrest warrants for the individuals that are supporting this basically tyranny from the American system. And that's what I would do if I was a trial judge. I know I can't touch the Donald because he's immune, at least on official.
He is immune according to that last ruling.
But that doesn't mean everybody underneath him is, Mark. And so the thing is, I would start issuing arrest warrants for anybody who is not supporting the return of Abrego Garcia back to the United States, where he has notice and opportunity to be heard. He has the right to counsel. He has constitutional rights, period, the end, full stop. Now, when I went on Facebook, I was highly disappointed to show how ignorant the American public is what I call basic constitutional law. And that's my thought. Those are
just really quickly along those same lines and things that I had another topic I was going to get to that had to do with one of our other shows and everything along those lines. But what is our take on RFK deciding that I guess he's a doctor and that he knows better about autism and all along those lines?
You're going to make me sound like a liberal, Mark. This guy I'm totally against. He's another one I'm against. Now Jacoby's going to think I agree with everything he said. Redundant. Okay, RFK is not a medical doctor, and he's been going up on television giving medical advice. Now, the thing is, this person should also be cited because he's practicing medicine without a license. I can't go in there and say, everybody here should be vaccinated. I don't have the right to do it. I'm not a medical doctor. He's not one either. He's an environmental lawyer and has no business being the head of Health and Human Resources. And I've stated publicly, I'll state again, he should resign from his position. Be like a gentleman, a scholar. You resign and go do something else with your life, but please don't torment the American public. By the way, American public, do not get your medical information from this group. Go to the Harvard, actually I have Harvard Medical newsletter. They're really good. But go to the Mayo Clinic. Go to John Hopkins' website, the Mayo Clinic, John Hopkins, the Cleveland Clinic. These are all three good institutions that actually do really good research relating to your medical condition. Talk to your medical doctor. Do not, on any circumstances, take your medical advice from people in Washington, D.C. who are lawyers pretending to be doctors and doctors who are not qualified pretending to practice in this area. This is an abomination. Unfortunately, this is another one I agree with Jacoby.
One that you may not agree with, Jacoby. You may agree with them, but apparently there is a Democratic group that there's a Democratic group out there that is thinking that the Democrats lost, and there's no doubt about that. But they lost in the rural area, and I think even Sasha has alluded to that. So there is a Democratic candidate recruitment group that is pledging to pour $12 million into rural America in order to make some inroads in the red states and everything. So is this a good idea, or is this a waste of money and all along those lines, because they are trying to make some inroads by appealing to the working class voters that apparently Trump won quite heavily and all along those lines? So what is our thoughts around this investment? And is $12 million enough? Because they are, I think, looking at places like Pennsylvania, Iowa, Wisconsin, and others that have a heavy rural population. So is that going to be enough money, or do they need to invest in more money? So what is our thought about this targeted campaign to go after rural America?
I think they should do it. I mean, you've got to reach voters. So, yeah, I mean, they're a selection of voters. So, yeah, hatred is born out of ignorance. And if the people continue to hate you because they don't know what you're about, you got to change that. You've got to educate them on who you are, what you offer. What, you know, if you are authentic, if you are telling the truth, they've got to be able to feel you. They've got to be able to understand you. If they don't, they're going to continue to hate you because somebody's going to build a narrative around that.
Yep, that makes sense. What's your take on that, Nick?
Oh, Nick's in the background.
Nick's in the background. He disappeared. What's your take, Sasha?
Wait. I'm back since you brought Jacoby in. I mean, the thing is, here's the thing. And I'm still upset with the fact that Americans do not take constitutional law. It's not that hard of a course, okay? Seriously, every high school student should have Con Law 1 or maybe Con Law 1 and 2. It is simple stuff compared to calculus, vectors, matrices, and even doing the crazy things Jacoby's doing, coding. Law is a lot easier than that. It's just rules, reading rules, and following rules. Things that Americans who are OCD have a hard time doing. And so I'm going to go beat them up, the American public right now, because I live in Europe. With that, we probably should get Dr. Sharif in because he represents half the world, because they all live over in Asia. We just don't recognize the fact that the majority of the population, 3 billion people, live in his part of the world. We think our 300 million is a lot, but 3 billion, I haven't been over there yet. But I'm afraid if I do go over there, I'm going to be bumping into people all the time. And I'm going, are you serious? So what's going on in your part of the world, Asia, which we know ultimately will control the world anyway.
914-044.
Is that Sasha's phone?
Gosh, I just
Yep, Sasha's phone.
Okay, you're on, Dr. Sharif.
Yeah, thank you. This is good discussion, especially yesterday debate. I really enjoy in between Nick and Jatovi. Even though I believe Jatovi win the debate anyway. So
I'm not debating, I'm agreeing with Jatovi right now, but please give us time, we'll get into it.
okay. Anyway, yesterday's session was good. So I think you are in email. I promote your Spot TV around these RNG sectors, garment sectors. I said that this is very good TV. Everybody should collaborate with Bangladesh should collaborate with IBM TV or Pot TV. Anyway, so my thought is that the world right now has a lot of tensions. Most of the tensions come from USA, especially from Trump. Yeah. So the thing is that you people from USA, you should fix your countries, and we will support you. Okay.
We're being lectured to now by somebody in Bangladesh about fixing the United States of America.
I cannot. This is your job. This is your job.
By the way, he's good for ratings, Dr. Sharif. I knew when he got elected, it's going to be great for our ratings, get a lot of viewership. So keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, so my thought is very simple. I just follow you, and I want global peace, and I want good business relationship, good business environment. My objective is very simple: how the global North and global South can work together. But most of the cases, all of the things happening in USA, and it's create impact in global South. So I believe that we can fix the problem.
Hey, Dr. Sharif, every time hold on a second, Dr. Sharif, every time
are caused by Russia. Let's get fair. The United States is, stirring the pot, but we have a country called Russia that unilaterally decided after they said they weren't going to do it. I'm not going to invade Ukraine. The next thing they do is they invade Ukraine. So let's not just pick on the United States. Let's add Russia to that list. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Dr. Sharif, every time that I have brought this notion up, people have told me that it is Shangri-La and that it can happen, because you've brought it up now a couple of times. I think even Sasha has said that it's a fantasy, that we will never have world peace and everything like that. So what is your answer to folks like that? Will there ever be truly a lack of conflict in the world? Because every time I brought it up, Nick and others have, even my favorite songs, they tell me that it's not possible.
No, I just want to share one view. I can understand the frustration of Sasha. because I try to engage with different country, different cultures and communities. I can understand Sasha pain, and this is logical. But try to understand, even in Bangladesh, that there are some Islamic extremists. Uh, they organize conference and this kind of things, and they said Jewish people are bad, they did all of the wrong thing. Israelis are bad, they did all of the wrong thing in Palestine, this and that. Practically, I'm Muslim, I'm practicing Muslim. I'm very grateful to the Jewish communities because when I finish my PhD, I get my funding from USA, from the Jewish communities. His name is Mr. Bizon. So I can understand that this is people. But solution, even I discuss with these mullahs and peoples in Bangladesh and the grassroots community. I said, hey, have you meet with any American peoples or the Jewish communities, or you make any business relations or anything? They said no. So why you hate each other? Why? Reality is that because long time I work under the Jewish organization, I find Muslim and the Jewish, there is a 90% similarities. 90%. Muslim communities and Jewish communities. Let's say they eat kosher, we eat halal. They pray 3 times, we pray 5 times. So there are a lot of similarities in between Muslim, Jewish, even Christian, according to Quran, Bibles, and all of the things. Problem is that this is human natures. We love to hate each other, right? The Muslim community said we hate Jewish community. Jewish community says we hate Muslim communities. Why? What is the reason behind that? So as a human, when we culturally involve with each other, let's say if I'm ready to meet with Sasha personally. So when we have cultural engagement and interactions, then we have more bondings. Why I like this program? Because there is opportunity that we can go for the human relationship. So human relationship is the most important things for global peace. We have to mixed with different culture. That's why I'm developing this climate leadership program in USA, in Japan, in Bangladesh, right? Because cultural interaction, our plan, we want to develop 1000 leaders from different cultures, from different point of view. Maybe Nick and me from different culture, different views, but we have some common ground. We have some point that we can discuss. So that is my request. Please visit many countries, engage with different cultural peoples, engage with different peoples, and be open-minded. And everybody around the world, why everybody like USA? Because I'm from a very small country, so I can understand. It's an open society. I can remember in 2000, I think 25 years before, when I start my debating career, I learned from presidential debate from a grassroots village. So USA presidential debate. So USA has cultures of development and all of the things. That's why in some point I said that yes, maybe economically USA has a lot of challenge, but how USA create impact around the world, not only Bangladesh, even in China, even in India, maybe another 50 to 100 years, it has positive impact in education, in cultures, in everywhere. So that is my request. That's why I believe in human, I believe in human relationship, I believe in human productivity. That's why my forum, my institution is talent economy. So I request everyone, be a good friend, do not hate each other, do not just focus, hey, this is the online discussion, this is the online information, this is the internet information. Better visit the community. We understand culture. That is the way of solving these things. And this is the lackings of, I'm sorry to say, Trump and Putin. I'm very, very sure they don't have enough engagement with different cultural people, with different grassroots level communities. And that's why they cannot be a good leaders. And world has problem with the good leaders. And we need to build the good leaders from our young communities. We need to respect the politics and we have to come close and solve the complex problem of the world. That is the way of solve all of the problem. Thank you.
No problem. Hey, Nick, I got another question for you and everything. It's one of your
I think
favorite.
Sasha wants to respond, but Dr. Sharif's trying to put me out of business. If there weren't people fighting all the time, it wouldn't need lawyers, and I don't know what I would do for a living. So anyway, we'll listen to Sasha. He can maybe straighten him out a little bit, because otherwise, if people got along, Sharif, I'd be out of a job. You want me to be fired? I'm not sure about that. But go on, Sasha.
You're on mute, Sasha. You're on mute.
Okay, Dr. Sharif, I think you have a major flaw, or actually more than one, in your statement, although it's well intended. But number one, human beings are the most aggressive species in all history of the world. They are attacking their own, like lions. They don't attack other lions. They're attacking other animals, but not likes like themselves. But human beings are attacking. The white people attacking white people, and white people attacking black people, and black people attacking I don't know whom, and but somebody they must attack. So they're not going to be idle and just let be slaughtered all the time. There is another flaw is when you're talking about Jewish and Muslim communities. If you take October 7th of 1923, what's happened is that Islamic group, call it Hamas, call it Palestine, or both, or it's very difficult to distinguish because if Hamas is ruling Palestine and they committed the atrocious attack against Israel, by logic, it means that it was Palestine actually which attacked Israel. But okay, it's debatable. I understand that people say that Palestinians are against Hamas and they are not ruling Palestine, or they are not supposed to rule Palestine. But this is all the result is horrible, where well over 1,200 people were killed and captured, and a lot of them already are being dead. I'm not even so sure if there are anybody alive in captivity, but we'll see. So what Israel is supposed to do, to say, oh, well, it's happened, it's just, we couldn't do anything about it, or so on. All respond in kind and trying to eliminate Hamas. That's actually next day, on October 8th, there were already pro-Palestinian demonstration around the world, and all this chant from this, what is it, from the sea? No, from the lake to the sea. The Palestine is free, and all that garbage. It's still going now on against. It lost its velocity. It's not as fiery as it was a year and a half ago. So Israel is being criticized for what? For defending itself, or for killing too many Palestinians. But you know what? That Hamas is using Palestine as their armor to defend against Israeli attacks. So therefore, for example, many missiles launching facilities of Hamas are being intentionally put in hospitals, in schools, and other places where there are a lot of civilians live. And when you have a site that puts rockets, missiles every half an hour, and you have to eliminate that, and if that site is within the civilian targets, what can you do? Just not to eliminate it and allow it to kill even more Israelis? Or you will eliminate it, but then you risk that innocent people would be killed, Palestinians. And that's what's happening from time to time. And unfortunately, the number is staggering, but it's not by design. It's just it is the nature of this territory, the nature of Hamas tactics to hide behind Palestinians is like a life armor. It's really horrible, but I don't know. In my opinion, Israel has very few options as to continue fight to eliminate Hamas. I have personally nothing against Palestinian people, but I can feel only pity for them that they submitted to Hamas rule, and only now, just in the last few days, I've heard about some uprising of Palestinians against Hamas rule. And let's hope that they will prevail and they will get organized, and whatever is left of Hamas, they will try to run out of their land. So it's a very complicated question. It's very difficult to blame Israelis for what they are doing. Maybe they could have done it better. Probably, but I'm not so sure about that. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, Sasha, and I think Toby had a question for you as well, but because the other thing that comes up in that conversation, and I don't know your view, I don't even know if you consider yourself one, but are all Israelis, just like you were saying, that your view on Palestine and Hamas, are all Israelis Zionists?
I would say that. I would say that no, it's not true, simply because Israel is a quite diverse community. And Zionist, you can call only, in my opinion, people who believed that all Jews around the world have to come to Israel and live there. And that mostly consists of Ashkenazi Jews. So it's European Jews. And for them, it was idea was born in the end of 19th century, beginning of 20th, that the real motherland of all Jews is Israel. That's where they lived thousands of years ago, and that's where they should come. I'm not so sure that other Israelis, those who are coming from, say, North Africa, or I'd say South Europe, like Spain, for example. I don't think that they are Zionists. Some of them are probably, but I'm not so sure about that. So it's not synonymous worlds, Zionists and Israelis. Israelis, it's a nation that includes Zionists, but also non-Zionists. Not that they're against Zionists. It's just that it was not their idea. That's not what they learned. It's not what their parents taught them or anything like that.
Fair enough. Jacoby, you had a question?
Because we're trying to oversimplify a very complex situation, because the whole Gaza, for example, the Palestinian people haven't had an election since 2006. The majority of people didn't vote Hamas in. They just were born into the situation and actually had to submit because of the way that Hamas treated the Palestinian people. Therefore, they were stuck in that situation. And they also didn't have a helping hand in the Israeli individuals that moved there, because they pushed them down to, they were basically occupying their area. And on top of that, taking land from them and taking homes from them, kicking them out. There are actually plenty of places where the Palestinian people live at the bottom of the apartment complex, where it's basically underground in a basement. And when they walk out, they look up. But when they look up, they see a graded rail area where that blocks the bottles and all the trash from falling that the people up top throw down. So it's a very complex and troubling situation. It's a powder keg in the first place. Thrown in Hamas in the situation, another complex situation, because Netanyahu didn't want his extremely harsh right-wing government did not want a two-state solution. Therefore, they were using Hamas as a tool to keep that two-state solution situation at bay, because if you are able to keep a hostile group in power and therefore causing a situation where people are already afraid of these individuals and lumping them together, even though we're able to separate and say that one group over here is diverse, but this group is only uniform, which we know every community has a diverse set of people in the first place, but we can accept that except for in the Palestinian people or in the people of Gaza. For some odd reason, we look at them as this uniform situation, which it should not be. They're very diverse. Before October 7th, they were actually upset at Hamas, and they were actually rising up. There were actually protests against Hamas because, again, they haven't had an election since 2006. When that election took place, the individual that was taking over, or that the people of Palestine voted for, because they were living already up under a corrupt situation in the first place, the individual coming in that ended up getting voted for sounded reasonable when he got voted in. He sounded like a very populist individual, but once he got voted in, he switched, and now they're under Hamas rule since then. So when we look at the situation, there are so many complex things, and we have to think of ways to move out of that situation. I mean, the Netanyahu piece is a problem because Netanyahu's government itself is actually standing against a two-state solution, which it should be. And it should be a partnership and not one sit there and rule the other. The Muslim communities should be able to work with the Jewish communities. They do it in the U.S. One of the first groups to actually help the Muslim community, or to protect the Muslim community when there was all the outrage over 9/11, was the Jewish community. One of the first communities to protect the Jewish community in the U.S. while anti-Semitism is on that rise, is the Muslim community. So it can be done. The communities can work together because everybody truthfully wants peace. And Mark, the question you had asked about, is there ever going to be a day where there's no strife or no war? I still continue to say that there will always be that. There will always be some struggle, some war, whatever. But that should never deter us from going for that utopian situation or fighting for that utopia. Because sure, we may never reach that mountaintop. And hopefully, to steal the words from MLK Jr., we may never get to the mountaintop. Or, I might not be at the mountaintop, but we still have to fight to get there and achieve that and have that dream of that. Because if we don't have that dream, then what do we have? We have nothing but hatred towards each other. Because that's learning in improv, for example. One of the easiest emotions to do in improv is hate. It's easy. One of the biggest things in our voting community, what do we use? We demonize people to create fear because that moves people. That gets people to vote. In advertising, they talk about if you upset somebody, they'll tell 9 people. If you please somebody, they're telling 2. So it plays into who we are as humans, but we should always strive for that mountaintop. We should always strive for that peaceful situation. And we can actually have some sort of peace. There's still going to be problems in Gaza, even with a two-state solution. But we've got to strive for that. We've got to have that happen. We've got to give the Palestinian people a chance to live on their own and be themselves and govern themselves. But until we do that, we're going to have even more problems. But there's a lot of money at play, and that's another issue.
There's another issue. You had a statement you want to make, Sasha?
I would like to respond, Jacoby. I don't recall that when all this pro-Palestinian demonstration in U.S. on campuses, even one Muslim organization would criticize this uprising. I'm not aware. Maybe there were a few. Yeah, probably there were. There must be some, at least one or maybe half, but I'm not aware of it. Never heard. Number 2. The lunacy of two-state solution. Think about it. In 1948, when United Nations make a solution, okay, this is Israeli land, this is Palestinian land, okay, go and build your countries and good luck with that. So what Israel did, not only it had to defend itself against 5 Arab countries trying to destroy it completely, wipe it out, but they were able to withstand that. And there were several other wars of Arab organizations, countries, whatever, against Israel. Arab countries lost all of them, every single one. They lost it in 48 and 56, in 67, in 73, and keep losing and losing and losing. And now you're talking about two-state solution. Wake up! Israel built supreme society, very advanced technologically country, that its products are in demand all around the world. And look at the Gaza, look at that. Well, technically it doesn't exist anymore, in my opinion. And you say, you propose that there will be two countries. One is Israel, another one is Palestine. What Palestine? They are destroyed themselves by fighting Israel for 80 years. It's a payback time. It's a time to pay for it. So you thought that you will keep fighting the wars every time, losing, and then you will say, okay, now it's time. Okay, build your own country. Okay, get your two-state solution. Okay, here's your state. Go enjoy yourself. No, it's not going to happen. They will never have second state. There's no such thing. They have to fight for it. Israel fought and prevailed and built a fabulous state. Now, instead of Palestinians go and build their own state, they wasted their opportunities. So now you cannot come back 80 years ago and say, you know what, we were wrong. Okay, let's do it now the right way. No, the time has gone by, and now you have to pay for lost opportunities. The payment is there will be no more Gaza. Gaza will be eliminated and all Palestinians will have to move. It's happened in history many times. Israelis themselves, 2,000 years ago, they were evicted by Romans and they had to go to exile for 1,000 years. And it's now Palestinians people turn. You have to vacate Gaza because it's unlivable. It's impossible to resurrect to what it was before October 7th, 1923. So they have to go to Qatar, to Egypt, to some other countries. There will be no livable conditions in Gaza for many years to come.
So to your point number one, there were people protesting. They were not protesting and celebrating Hamas. What they were protesting against was the fact that Israel was killing.
Yeah.
They killed over 40.
Sorry, on October 8th, Israelis haven't killed anybody on October 8th, and the demonstration and pro-Palestinian movement started.
We were just having a good conversation. I allowed you to go. Please allow me to go again.
Okay, I said everything.
Let me finish. So, to your point number one, people were protesting the deaths of innocent Palestinians.
There were no deaths on October 8th when they started.
Sasha, again, we were having a good conversation. We were having a good conversation.
That's why I will not let you talk, because you're misrepresenting the situation. Take your words back, please.
Sasha, you're emotional right now. Can you
take your words back, please? Because it's not true. And you know it.
Point number one. People were protesting the deaths that were going on and the killing of the innocent people in Palestine. People were also upset about what was going on in Israel. People were protesting on both sides for the deaths of the Palestinian people, plus for the deaths of the Israeli people.
Oh, really? I never heard about that.
Sasha, again, I know this is an emotional topic for you, but please hold on. People were protesting on both sides. Even in Israel, they were protesting against Netanyahu for the amount of deaths that were happening in Gaza. So what was going on is, yes, you had protests that were going on, that were happening. That's a reality. But what ended up happening, again, people took it as the way you're taking it and didn't listen. People just went on, oh, well, because you, Sasha, and I can say you because you've done it multiple times on this show, but I keep having to correct you. You bring in and try and tie Hamas to the Palestinian people, which is incorrect. Hamas is a terrorist organization. The Palestinian people are not. And that was the problem, which people did not want to separate. And that's why they protested against people who didn't want to listen to the reality of that situation. Point number two that you were making, and you pointed out in 1948, right, was when Israel was established. Israel and Gaza were established. So therefore, did the occupations stop then? No. So the multiple wars that happened over the years repeatedly have happened due to the occupations that were taking place in the Gaza Strip, which were supposedly the actual land that the people of Palestine were given.
But why don't you take Wikipedia and look to better understand what you're talking about? It's only
true.
And outright lies. Enjoy yourself.
Hold on, Sasha.
Okay.
Again, this is an emotional topic, and I get it. You're emotional right now.
I'm not.
Hold on. What I'm trying to tell you is that the occupations that took place, this is what the wars in Gaza have been fought over, is that occupation and the religious wars, because most wars were fought over religion and money. That's a fact of our history. But this is two separate religions over one particular piece of land. And so the Israelis feel that they are entitled to that piece. Therefore, they have stolen and occupied a lot of the areas in Gaza. Even the land that was given to the people of Gaza in that time from 1948, as you actually pointed out. But again, that two-state solution, because of the corrupt governments that were put in Gaza, yes, the Palestinian Authority was led wrong. It had a corrupt government. But again, as we discussed, as pointed out by Dr. Sharif, as the question that was brought about by Mark, who talked about, hey, is there ever going to be a time of no strife? As I told you, that does not mean that we should quit. I don't believe that there's ever going to be a time when there's no strife. There's always going to be struggle somewhere. But I believe that we should always fight to get to that point where there is no struggle. But what you are saying, because you are saying that it is okay for Israel to occupy Gaza, you have just actually stated that you are for ethnic cleansing of the area, which is
yes,
wrong.
I did say that exactly.
Yes,
I said
wrong. That
yes.
is wrong.
Go ahead.
Again, we're back to this emotional moment.
Well,
I'm just repeating, but that is wrong. That is not what we should strive for, because the people of Gaza and the Muslim communities around that area, if you are fighting for ethnic cleansing, what that brings about is more wars, because now you are actually isolating Israel in that area worse than they are now. So you are calling for the deaths of the people and the Jewish people that live there because of what you were asking for.
You're talking about Jewish people living in Gaza?
I'm almost done, Sasha. I'm almost done. I know this is an emotional thing.
You're almost done?
I'm almost done.
So
again, the point of
again, yes, again and again and again. You're talking lies for the last 15 minutes. Nobody stops you. I'm trying to stop you, but it doesn't work. You are lying. You're incompetent. You don't know history. Everything what you're talking is stupidity number one. Enjoy yourself.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So again, the point of a two-state solution is to allow for the people of Palestine.
There will be never two-state solution. There is a state of Israel. Period. Full stop. There never will be a second.
No matter how many times you tell me and
dreaming, okay?
The Palestinian people, I get it.
There will be no second state. The end of story. Stop dreaming,
so you can talk.
So now, I think Sasha has a right to believe what he wants to believe. I think that in his heart, if he really believes that all these people need to die, then that's his right to believe that. That you can't change history.
I'm not trying to
change what's in a person's heart. You know, I mean, Jacoby, just look in what's your heart and know that what you believe in is true. Sasha, look in your heart and know that, what you believe in is true as well. Because if you believe that all of these people are guilty and deserve to die, then that's what you believe. We can't change the way people think, just like we can't change the way MAGA thinks. If they want to start deporting U.S. citizens because they are repeat offenders of a crime, and it's using up our system's resources, then they're going to do it. There's nothing we can do until we unite together and stop it. Just like the war with Putin, okay? You're not going to stop that war with Putin. He's just not going to stop, not until he owns half of Ukraine or all of Ukraine. Now, there is a way that he could stop, and I have to agree. I mean, this is really weird. I rarely agree with Peter. But, Peter came up with a good idea to end it. If Trump would use the idea, I think it would work. But right now, Trump is siding with Russia. That's very scary. That's a problem we need to really start considering what's really going on there. And I've got a big question for everyone in the panel, and maybe you guys can research it deeper because I only get the surface results. Laken Riley was murdered by illegal immigrants that were here with false IDs and everything. And they've been sent to federal prison. Now, Trump's campaign centered on that case. Say her name, but it also centered on his reasons for deporting violent criminals. All right. Now, has he deported any of the violent criminals that are in our prisons right now, such as the guy who killed Laken? Is he there? I mean, did he deport them? Because the reading I got is they will be detained by ICE when he finishes his federal prison time. Well, that's life. So I don't think he's deporting the violent, horrible, heinous criminals. And we know that. But I think that question needs to be asked. The one person he campaigned on, the one issue, why isn't that person first on the plane? That's all I got to ask.
Well, just really quickly, because I know we're winding down and everything along those lines, I will say that the Mexican president actually stood up, and I agree with what she said, because she was talking about this notion of these ads that are running that are basically demonizing, speaking of demonization,
demonizing Democrats,
demonizing the Mexican and the immigrants, and saying that they're all basically coming to steal the jobs and everything like that. So she was saying she had no problem with America sending tourism ads and ads to get people to come visit this country if they wanted to do that. But it was the ads that Trump put out there and Christine Nome and others that are basically demonizing her country. So they basically have banned those ads from being done.
And did anyone watch the 19 people that they interviewed that were undocumented immigrants that actually worked for Trump and Trump Towers, and some of them actually personally served Trump, and he was well aware of this? Did anyone even watch that interview? That was pretty interesting. And they had their paycheck stubs. They didn't just come to the interview as people saying they worked there. They showed their uniforms, their paycheck stubs, everything. I would love to see the paycheck stub to see if he reported taxes on them. Probably not. Or the fact that Elon Musk has paid millions and billions of tax dollars to China for his work in China, the stuff he manufactured. But in the U.S., he has paid $0, and we've given him all the grants to build with. So I just want you to take a look at these other issues that are there. We can stay focused on one or two, or we can sit there and say there's a lot of issues that we need to take a look at and answer.
I'm on record not to give grants to Elon Musk for his stupid SpaceX and his dumb EV charging stations.
Well, and then you got, what's her name, Marjorie Greene. You got stupid Marjorie Greene sitting there telling the Congress and everyone that we got rid of all the people and all the federal agencies that were not making money for our government. They're not generating any revenue for us. And you know what, you idiot? Neither are you or any of the people voting on this. You have not generated one penny for this country. All you've done is given us grief. So I say fire her along with all the others. Impeach Hedgespath. Man, he's a
You know what? There is a great way to save a lot of
Give him
money.
a Twitter.
If all the offenders who are in federal jails stop all this time sentencing and just bring old electric chair and just get executed all of them, and you know how much money U.S. government will save instead of feeding them for years and taking care of them, and they have to, sometimes they get sick and you have to take them to jail hospital and all that stuff. Instead, a little old electric chair. But by the way, there was an interesting story that I just read, that there was one man committed to the death by electric chair, and on the day of execution, he was very fat and he couldn't get into the chair. And so the judge, so they brought him back to the judge and say, here's the problem. So the judge ordered him to lose 30 pounds in 6 months. So
They can execute.
and you know what happened in 6 months? They weighted him, and actually he gained 15 pounds. So there was no way. So the judge asked him, "Why did you gain weight instead of losing weight? Why didn't you lose the weight?" And the man says, "I had no motivation."
No motivation. Good point. No motivation, everything like that.
All the
I know
motivation put on weight.
we get ready to wrap up and everything like that. So just really quickly, the other two stories that I did not get to and everything was China, and we can talk about that tomorrow or this evening on World Politics, having this notion that the whole tariff thing is only, and tariff negotiations is only in Trump's head and everything. And I'm still trying to figure out, maybe Jacoby can help me, why this Belgian team who was being sentenced was trying to smuggle 5,000 ants. I can think of a lot of things that I want to smuggle. 5,000 ants is not one of them, and everything like that. So if anybody can tell me why he's trying to smuggle
They
ants,
were carrying diseases.
maybe that's what it is. But on that note, we'll get out of here and we'll have World Politics later on, and we'll see that at 5 o'clock. See you fine folks then.